What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host, Caleb. If you guys want to support the channel, you can click on that whatnot link in the description down below. You'll get a free $15 whenever you sign up, and you'll be supporting the channel whenever you do that. Additionally, you can become a patron. Not only is it the best way to support the channel, but additionally, you'll get more say in what decks I cover. Special shout out to my high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Now, let's get into today's video topic, and today we're going to be talking about the famous phrase, dies to removal. Now, I see a lot of confusion when people use this in an argument, so I kind of wanted to go over what it's actually referring to and where the term originated from and how you can see if your commander does die to removal, if you get instant value out of it, and we can kind of talk about how we can build our decks better if our commander does have a more fragile strategy. Now, first of all, I see a lot of people taking this in a very literal term. Everything dies to removal, that means everything fair. That's not exactly what the term means. We're more talking about, does this card give you instant value, or do you have to pass the turn and untap with it to get value? Because if you have to pass the turn and untap with it to get value, your opponents are going to have 3 different opportunities to remove that spell before you get value out of it, thus dying to removal. Now, does a card you instantly cast give you value? Then we're talking about a card that doesn't die to removal because you already got the value. Let's use a little bit of an example. Let's talk about the new Etali. You cast Etali, and then you instantly get to cast 3 free spells off of your opponent's library and your library. That's going to give you instant value, so saying, hey, it dies to removal does not exactly make much sense there, because after you kill Etali, you will have already gotten the value you wanted. Now, let's talk about a new commander like Loot. Loot gives you some insane value, but you have to make it a full rotation and untap with Loot before you get the insane value. So that's a strat, or that's a sense of where the dies to removal argument comes into play, right? Because if we remove Loot before that player untaps, they get no value, they wasted their turn, they casted Loot, and Loot's going to be more expensive now. So in those strategies, we want to be playing a more mid-range deck. We want to have more protection for our commander, more counter spells to protect our commander, and just overall more protection and a more less greedy strategy. You know, if you don't have anything to protect your commander, if your commander is more fragile, you're definitely going to see the deck fall apart. There's another new commander that fits this category, Obeka Splitter of Seconds. She's really powerful, but she has to connect, and you have to make it a full turn cycle before you can utilize her ability unless you give her haste. This means we want to add protection pieces, we want to give her haste, and that way it'll make the deck more consistent and more reliable. And like I said, this is where the dies to removal category comes into play. Let's talk about some more examples. We have the new Gyard, Mirror of the Wilds. This is not a very good dies to removal argument, because you cast Gyard and then you can instantly start using his ability to start making token copies of creatures, assuming you've already made a token of a creature that turn. All you have to do is cast Gyard, and your deck's doing the thing, and your commander's doing the thing. Dies to removal is not a very good argument there, because if you try to Swords to Plowshare my Gyard in response to me activating his ability, you can just activate a different creature and still get value, right? So instant value cards, dies to removal argument doesn't really make sense. And this is just going to help you build decks. You can ask yourself, does this card die to removal? Like when you're playing a card like Thousand Year Storm. This card's incredibly powerful, but it's incredibly expensive. You're probably going to cast this spell, pass the turn, and then hope to untap with it and have an insane turn. I've found that cutting these cards from my deck is just going to make the deck more consistent and play a little bit better. So whenever you're going through, what do I need to cut? What do I need to add to this deck? I'm 10 cards over. You can look at the cards and evaluate them and ask yourself, do I get instant value, or am I passing the turn? But also keep in mind, with that being said, there are ways to mitigate this argument, or this doesn't give me instant value fact. If we play Thousand Year Storm and then we play Sword of Feast and Famine at the same time, all we have to do is connect with our commander, untap all our lands, and then boom, we can turn a card that gives us not instant value into a card that gives us instant value, because now we have all that mana to go ahead and start storming off. You could also use the Reaver Cleaver, right? Anything that gives you additional mana. We could also just cheat Thousand Year Storm into play. There's ton of ways to do that as well. So just be sure that when you're doing this deck building and you're looking at these cards and you're like, this doesn't give me instant value, but it's incredibly powerful, make sure you're shoving ways to cheat them into play or untap your lands or get instant value out of them, and that's just going to make the deck more consistent. I hope this helped you guys. Just a little short video today. I saw some confusion, so hopefully this helps clears it up. With that being said, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.